There's a girl running down the street being like her stepbrother is killing everyone in her family.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and joining me for another true crime video. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day so far. For today's case, this one is heavy. This case has haunted me for a number of obvious reasons, and I even second guessed whether or not I should cover this case because I wasn't quite sure if I could honor the victims, both the deceased and the surviving victims in this case. I wasn't sure if I can honor them in the way that they deserve to be honored. But after I heard the victim impact statements, I just knew that this case is too important to not talk about. So that's what we are going to be doing today. We will be discussing the Doerman family and the atrocious acts that were committed on June 15th, 2023. In addition, as this case really made waves throughout the country, a lot of rumors began spreading about it. So at the end of this video, I will be discussing that, as well as the very important message that Laura Doerman has. So make sure you stay to the end for that. So let's go ahead and dive right in. This case takes place in the small town of New Richmond, Ohio. Before or around 2014, Chad Doerman met Laura Hensley, who had a daughter, Alexis, from a previous marriage. Chad and Laura seemingly fell in love, they got married, and they began having children of their own. Laura would soon become pregnant with their first child together, and on February 6th, 2016, Clayton Doerman was born, a beautiful baby boy with blonde hair and blue eyes. Completely ecstatic for the new addition, the couple decided it was time to buy a home for their growing family. And just a month later, after Clayton's birth, they got the keys to their 3-bedroom modular home on 1965 Laura Lindell Road. A modest home, big enough for their growing family, but with over 3 acres of land that would be more than enough room for the kids to run around and play. Now, when they bought this house, it was quite outdated, so Laura and Chad spent countless hours remodeling the house to make it more modern and more suited to their taste. 2 years later, on July 20th, 2018, Chad and Laura welcomed their second baby boy, Hunter Doerman, who looked strikingly similar to Clayton with the blonde hair and blue eyes. And on November 6th, 2019, the Doermans became a family of 5 when they welcomed their third and final son, Chase Doerman. Again, another beautiful baby boy with blonde hair and blue eyes. Now, at this point, life was going very well for the Doermans. They were seemingly a normal, happy family who really just seemed to enjoy the simple things in life. In 2023, Chad was a member of the Insulators Union, while Laura decided to become a stay-at-home mom, and she began homeschooling Clayton. Now, the Doermans, they all love to be outside, whether it is fishing or riding bikes or swimming in the local creeks, but they all especially loved softball. At this time, Alexis was 14 years old. She was an incredible student, making the honor roll, having great grades, and she was a fantastic softball player, which she credited a lot of that to Chad as he coached her on the sport. Now, Clayton, also known as Clayton Man, was now 7 years old. He loved playing with Legos and making his own different types of Lego creations. He loved to be outside riding his bike or riding his go-kart and playing with his little brothers. He enjoyed laughing and making jokes, and he especially loved his best furry friend, Gatlin. Clayton also loved to give people gifts, whether it was something that he made, something that he found, or just sharing something of his own. Clayton enjoyed playing softball, and he loved being around his family and his little brothers. 4-year-old Hunter, who was fondly called Hunter Dog, loved going swimming in the creeks and catching frogs. He was also a huge fan of softball, where it is said that he would even go to sleep still wearing his baseball glove. Hunter absolutely adored his mother, Laura, and his big sister, Alexis, and would often call them the pretty girls. He was just an absolute sweetheart. Now, Chase, often called Chasers, was now 3 years old at this point. And as you can imagine, any little brother, he really just looked up to his bigger brothers and would follow them around, attempting to do everything that they did. He couldn't wait until he was old enough to get on the baseball field and play softball just like his bigger brothers and his big sister Alexis. He was obsessed with anything dinosaurs, and he loved pretending to be a superhero. Being the baby of the family, Chase was an absolute cuddle bug, always wanting to be near his mama, giving him all of the hugs and kisses that her heart could muster. Now, as the summer of 2023 approached, the Doermans were seemingly having the time of their lives, running around on their property, riding bikes, eating popsicles on the hot summer days, going fishing and swimming. And when they weren't doing that, you can find them on the baseball field. And Chad would even coach the teams after work. They really just seemed like a normal, happy family that truly enjoyed each other's company. But all of that would change in the most horrific way in June of 2023. And nobody could have predicted the absolute nightmare that would unfold. On June 10th, 2023, Chad decided to take the boys out for a boys' day where he took them down to the local racetrack. On that same day, he suggested to Laura and Alexis that they go out and enjoy a girls' day together. Everything seemed great. The boys had a blast watching the races together, and Laura and Alexis had a great day bonding together. On the next day, Sunday, June 11th, 2023, Chad took the boys out to go fishing. Again, they seemed like they were enjoying time together before he had to go to work that following Monday. And again, everything seemed fine. Better than fine even. Over the next 2 days, Chad gets up in the morning and goes to work. The kids are at home with their mom. Everything seems to be completely normal. Nothing is out of the ordinary. The next day, however, was the first red flag. On Wednesday morning, before Chad left for work, he woke up his stepdaughter, Alexis, telling her that he loves her, and then apologized, saying, "I'm sorry for whatever I've done to you and for anything I've done to hurt you." Now, this was very unusual and left Alexis feeling very weird, but nothing that would have alerted her of the horror that was to come. Now, after Chad goes to work like normal, everything seems to be fine. His coworkers don't report that he seems weird or abnormal. Everything seems completely ordinary. Now, after work on that Wednesday evening, Chad went to go coach Clayton's softball game, which was very typical. He was coaching on third base while Laura and the boys and Alexis were on the bleachers cheering for Clayton. Again, nothing really seemed out of the ordinary. However, some people suggested that Chad seemed a little bit distracted. But other than that, everything seemed like a normal day. But little did anybody know, or at least anybody other than Chad, that would be the last normal day that the Doerman family would ever have. On the next day, June 15th, 2023, a number of calls were made to 911, frantically reporting that children had been shot.
911, where's your emergency?
There's a girl running down the street being like her stepfather is killing everyone in her family. It's on the corner of where there's a body shop and the fire department. Do you know what road this is? Laura Lindell Road.
Okay, and what did the female say to you?
And she says that her stepfather is killing everybody in her house.
Did you say how or what was happening?
I asked her to get in the car with me, and she said she couldn't leave her family, but I think she ran to the fire department.
Okay, we have help on the way. Thank you so
Dark
much.
gray.
Oh, are you inside where you're safe?
I'm standing outside where I can see the lady.
Okay.
I'm across the street at Lindell Automotive.
Can you tell how many people have been shot?
I think 2 children.
All right, we've got help on the way. If you could just try to stay inside so that you're safe.
All right.
Police arrived at 1965 Laura Lindell Road at 4:25 p.m. Approaching the residence with guns drawn, officers found Chad Doerman sitting calmly with a rifle casually placed next to him. And on the lawn, just 20 feet in front of him, were his 3 little boys with gunshot wounds to their head, as their mother, Laura, was frantically screaming and trying to help them. Now, along with everybody, the police were perplexed. They had never seen a sight quite like this one. This was a scene unlike any other. What could have possibly possessed or made Chad Doerman commit such an atrocious act? Now, earlier that morning, everything seemed completely normal. Chad got up and got ready for work. Now, later it was discovered that on his way to work, he went on YouTube where he searched for a song called Happy in Hell by Colt Ford. Some of the lyrics of this song are as follows. Between happy and hell, that's where I'm living now. I really want to love her, but I just don't think that I know how. Can't give her everything she needs. Can I give her everything I want? Will it be about what I do? Will it be about what I don't? Will it be about what is right? Forget about what is wrong. Will she love the man I am or the man that sings this damn song? Don't know if I'll ever know the truth. It might not ever show. But if I never tell the truth, then will she ever know? Am I her shining light or just her darkest day? I wonder if she'll leave. Hell, I wonder if she'll stay. Oh God, I'm so confused. Is it a lie or truth? I'm in the crossroads. Tell me which one to choose. Is there a right or wrong? It's getting hard to tell. I need to know the price, and sure I'd buy or sell. God, I really love her, but should I ever tell? I guess I'll just live here between happy and hell. While at work, everything seemed completely normal. Nothing that would have alerted anybody of what was to come. Now, Chad left work just a couple hours later. He went to a Kroger, which is a supermarket where you can buy groceries and household products, cleaning products. And inside of this Kroger is a little clinic where you can pick up subscriptions and medications, things like that. Now, apparently, Chad had expressed some confusing feelings to his mom, which she recommended that he go to the little clinic for help. Now, as a side note, this clinic is not the right place to go if you needed some psychological help. But that's where he went. And just after a couple of minutes of standing in the little clinic, he didn't talk to anybody. He didn't sign in or anything. He just left. Chad then decided to go home. And when he arrived at the house, nobody had been there. Shortly thereafter, Laura arrived back at the house with the kids after running some errands. Now, the boys, they're ecstatic to see their father as he was home early from work. So they run up to Chad, giving him hugs and kisses and telling him hello. Chad and the boys played together while Laura was inside making lunch. Now she brings the boys their food. And at this point, Chad made a statement that just made Laura's heart sink when he said, "This will be my last good meal." While Laura expressed concern for this statement, Chad just brushed it off as if it was nothing. At this point, Laura's beginning to think that something is wrong, but instead of thinking that it was her or her children in danger, she believed that Chad was perhaps thinking of hurting himself. Just before 1 p.m., Chad made a call to his father where he said, "Clayton's going to be the hardest." Now, I'm not exactly sure what conversation that they were having to prompt this statement, nor do I know the response of his father from hearing that. But this is surely something to take note of. Over the next few hours, Chad was acting normal. He was playing with the boys, doing some yard work. Everything seemed completely fine. The boys were enjoying this extra time with their father, and Laura was getting some stuff down around the house. At 3:30 p.m., Chad took out a Bible and started reading some Bible verses to Hunter. Shortly thereafter, Chad starts walking around the house with the Bible in his hand as he quietly mumbles to himself, "Chad knows what's right. Chad knows what's right." Shortly thereafter, Chad opens his gun safe and leaves it unlocked. As Laura noticed this, she tells him, "Chad, you're scaring me." To which Chad, again, just brushes it off and says that he's just joking. He's just playing around. Now, again, at this point, in the back of her mind, Laura is concerned for Chad's well-being. She believes that Chad is perhaps thinking of hurting himself. Never in her wildest dreams would she have expected what was to come. At 4 p.m., Chad began telling the boys that he loved them, that they did nothing wrong, and that they were the best boys ever. Chad then invited Laura and the boys to go down and take a nap with him. Now, at this point, Laura is still believing that Chad is thinking of hurting himself. Perhaps he is suicidal, and she does not want to leave Chad alone as she's concerned for his safety. So she's thinking he just wants to go lay down, maybe cuddle, watch some TV before dinner time. So they all go back into the master bedroom and lay down on the bed. Now, initially, Chad lays down with them, but all of a sudden, he jumps up and goes over to his gun safe where he pulls out a .22 rifle. And immediately, terror fills the room. Again, Laura is still under the impression that Chad might hurt himself. So Laura begins screaming, begging Chad, "Please don't do this. Don't do this. We love you." Now the boys began freaking out. They're not really quite sure what's going on. Meanwhile, Chad calmly loads a magazine and inserts it into the rifle. Now Alexis was watching TV in the living room when she heard all of this commotion, so she runs back to the master bedroom to see what was happening. And they all begin begging Chad, please don't do this. Please don't kill yourself. We love you. Laura took out her phone to call 911, and Chad grabbed the phone, threw it across the room, and told her, it's too late. Chad then takes the rifle, and instead of pointing it at himself, he takes aim at Hunter and pulls the trigger multiple times. Now, Laura, Alexis, Clayton, and Chase are in utter disbelief. They cannot believe what they just saw. They begin screaming in panic and fear, and Laura yells at the kids to tell them to run while she tried to render aid to Hunter. Hunter was shot in his right arm, his right torso, and shot twice in the head, which were believed to be the final shots that Chad made to ensure that Hunter was dead. Laura, in full panic mode, called 911 for the first time.
I need you to calm down and tell me what's happening.
Help me, God, help me.
Cam.
It's hurt. It's hurt, God. It's hurt. My baby.
What is happening?
Come on, God. Run.
Now, this is just a small portion of that 911 call. As I listened to the call in its entirety, I've never heard anything like that in my life. And it's something that I will never forget as you hear the pure trauma Laura is experiencing as she's trying to save her baby's life. There's just no words to really describe it. And I decided not to put the full call into this video because it's just listening to it is traumatizing. I will never forget the blood-curdling screams as she is telling the dispatcher that her baby had been shot and he's not breathing. You can even hear the screams of the kids in the background, the absolute terror that was running rampant through that house. Laura then grabbed Hunter and ran outside, placing his body on the side yard. As she hopelessly waited for help, Laura attempted to render life-saving measures to her baby boy. Meanwhile, Clayton ran as fast as he could away from that house, surely in pure fear as he ran for his life. From the house, Chad took aim at Clayton and fired a number of shots from 50 to 75 yards away. As Clayton was struck by the gunfire, he collapsed to the ground. Chad slowly walked towards Clayton, and as he approached his body, he took aim once more, shooting Clayton in the head, executing his firstborn son. 14-year-old Alexis heard screams and cries coming from the house, so she ran inside where she found Chase. Holding her little brother, she began running to a nearby fire department, desperate for help. But unfortunately, she didn't make it far when Chad caught up to them. A neighbor's Ring camera caught audio of Alexis screaming and begging Chad not to kill them. Chad then aimed the rifle at Alexis and demanded that she put Chase down. And in utter fear for her life, she complied. Chase ran away from his father and hid behind some garbage cans. Chad then took the rifle and aimed it at Chase and pulled the trigger, but this time only heard a click. He was out of ammunition. As Chad began reloading his weapon, Chase frantically ran over to his mother, the place that he would always go for love and comfort and protection. Meanwhile, Alexis fled, continuing towards the fire department. A woman driving by saw Alexis in her frantic state and stopped, where Alexis told her that her stepfather was killing everyone. The woman immediately called 911.
There's a girl running down the street saying that her stepfather is killing everyone in her family.
After he reloaded, Chad walked back over to the side yard where he found his wife, Laura, holding their baby boy, Chase. Chad tried forcefully grabbing Chase out of his arms, but Laura fought back with everything that she had. Chad then bit Laura, and in a desperate attempt to save her baby boy, she placed her hand over the barrel of the rifle. This did not deter Chad as he shot anyways, shooting Laura through her thumb. And after she was shot, Laura ultimately dropped Chase to the ground. And unfortunately, this struggle did not stop Chad. He proceeded to execute his third and youngest son as he pulled the trigger one last time, firing a shot into Chase's head. Chad then gathered the lifeless bodies of Clayton and Chase and would bring them back and lay them next to Hunter, placing their bodies one next to the other. After his deadly rampage, Chad sits on the stoop and calmly watched as his wife and the mother to his children, Laura, desperately tried to undertake futile life-saving measures to save her children. And unfortunately, her efforts were to no avail. 7-year-old Clayton, 4-year-old Hunter, and 3-year-old Chase were all pronounced dead at the scene. After he was arrested, Chad made a number of statements to police where he essentially admitted to the atrocious acts that he committed, telling police to take him to jail. He continued making statements saying, "I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have shot them." Chad Doerman was charged with 21 counts, including 9 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count per each shot he fired, 8 counts of kidnapping, 4 counts of felonious assault, and Chad Doerman was going to face the death penalty. Now, unfortunately, because the detectives did not properly Mirandize Chad Doerman, nor did they stop questioning him after he asked for a lawyer, his confession was tossed out by the judge, meaning that his confession was ruled inadmissible in court. And in March of 2024, Chad pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, essentially suggesting that he was in a throe of delusion, believing that he was in hell and he would be saving his children by killing them and sending them to heaven where they belonged. However, in Ohio, to use this defense, Chad Doerman's legal team would have to prove that at the time of the event, he had severe mental disease or defect. And because of this mental disease or defect, he did not know the wrongfulness of his actions. So ultimately, the prosecution and the defense hired their own medical experts who both believe that Chad Doerman had suffered from some type of mood disorder, whether it was depression, anxiety, or bipolar. However, neither of them can definitively point to any specific mental health disease, as they were attempting to evaluate whether Chad Doerman was eligible for an NGRI, otherwise known as a not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, during the evaluations, based on Chad Doerman's actions, the court's expert believed that his actions exhibited that he did know the wrongfulness of his actions when he murdered his children. Such actions of him saying, "Take me to jail," signified that he knew what he did was wrong, as he was saying, "Take me to jail." Furthermore, the prosecution and the defense doctors were also in agreement with the fact that Chad Doerman exhibited no acute mental health symptoms while he was incarcerated, nor did he ever receive any type of medication. So based on all of these observations, there was no evidence to suggest that Chad Doerman was in the throes of a delusion when he committed these acts. So this story, where he said he believed he was in hell and he killed his children to save them, the prosecution believed that this was just a story he concocted after he was arrested in attempts to prove insanity, as during the 911 calls, the ring footage that we heard, the statements that he made to Laura as well as to the detectives, he never said anything about saving his children from hell. He didn't make any of these statements at the time these acts were being committed. And the fact that he concocted this story further proves that he did in fact know the wrongfulness of his actions when they were committed. Now, as his trial was approaching, just days before the hearing to hear whether or not his not guilty by reason of insanity would be upheld in the state of Ohio, the defense team approached the prosecution with a plea offer where Chad Doerman would plead guilty to all of the charges and he would be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and the death penalty would be taken off the table. Now, with this in mind, the DA brought in Laura to discuss the options, knowing that if they did move forward with this trial, Laura and her daughter Alexis would have to take the stand and recount all of the horrendous details of this horrific day. So the plea bargain was accepted as to reduce any further harm to the surviving victims, ensuring that Laura and Alexis can move on, knowing that Chad Doerman will live the rest of his days behind bars. So Chad Doerman pled guilty and was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, ensuring that he will, in fact, die in prison. Now, at the sentencing hearing, both Alexis and Laura spoke out to give their victim impact statements.
I am the person who I am today because of you. And no matter what anyone says, you raised me well, and you gave me an amazing life, and I will forever be grateful for the memories and time you spent with me. Ever since what you've done, my life has been something I would never wish upon any family. It is the most heartbreaking and emotional thing anyone could go through. Chad, I miss you, and I miss the boys dearly, and nothing will ever be the same again because of you. Whenever something exciting happens, I always just want to tell you, because I know you would be so proud of me. Softball to me isn't the same anymore, because that was our sport, and that was the boys' sport. You made me an amazing ball player, and whenever I play softball, there isn't one game where I don't think about you. And whenever I get a good hit or I learn a new pitch, I always wish I could tell you, because I know you would be so proud of me. And when good things like that happen, it sucks to look on the sideline and not see you be there, and for the boys not to be cheering me on like they always did. And Chad, I still work very hard on my grades, and I was on the honor roll this past year, and I know for a fact if you were there to see it, you would be so happy for me, because my grades have always been so important to me. Another thing that has impacted me was every single holiday. Waking up on Christmas isn't the same anymore. I don't get excited. I don't even look forward to having presents because it's not the same. I don't get to wake up early and wake the boys up. I don't get to hide the elf. I don't get to do any of the fun stuff anymore because they're gone and you took their lives. And Chad, when you go to bed every single night, I want you to know that when you took those 3 boys' lives away, you took mine and you took my mom's. Chad, I don't think you understand how hard it is to wake up every day and to see my friends and people around me have siblings, and to hear them talk about what they did with their siblings that day, or how much they enjoy having a brother. Because deep down, that hurts me so badly and so emotionally, because it hurts to know I will never get to experience another day with my 3 brothers, or to make any memories anymore, because their innocent lives were taken away so quickly and horribly by their own father. Their father who they loved unconditionally and who they trusted more than anything. It is so painful to see you here and in jail for the rest of your life, because I have never thought in a million years you would do this to your own children and family. And still to this day, it doesn't feel real to me that they are gone and I will never get them back. But Chad, if I'm being honest, I don't think I will ever be able to hate you. Even in 30 years from now, I will not hate you. Because yes, you did something so horrific and traumatic to those boys. But I will forever hold on to the memories I had with you and the boys, because those are all happy memories. And those were the best times. And you gave me an amazing life, and you were the best dad I could have ever asked for. I could write to you for days, but to end this off, always remember, I will never in a million years ever forgive you for what you have done and hope you pay for your actions like you deserve. But I will never hate you.
So like I said at the top of this video, there are a lot of rumors surrounding this case suggesting that Chad Doerman was a very abusive father and husband. But not only is there nothing really to substantiate those claims, but Alexis's statement paints a very different picture. She really seems to love Chad despite the horrific actions that he did. She didn't seem to fear Chad. She never thought that he would have committed something like this. And in fact, she says everything the opposite, that Chad seemed to be a very important person in her life, someone that she wanted to be proud of her. She really seemed to love Chad as she granted him a sense of grace that I don't believe the majority of us would be able to do. I certainly would not be able to do it. But her statement showed that Chad was seemingly a very loving and active parent in her life. She didn't see Chad as her stepfather. She saw him as her father. And Laura's statements really seemed to mirror those sentiments.
But this is a message from Laura to the community. No one who knew the defendant could have imagined the person they knew before June 15th, 2023 committing these acts. They were a normal family. Boys were happy. And how this was something out of the blue. This was lightning from a blue sky. Go ahead. I'll take a couple questions.
Should we still know why Chet did this?
No idea. Don't know why. That will probably never be answered. You look at this nice little family, sweet little family. I can't speculate as to why it happened. Can't do it.
And they were getting, you're saying they were a happy family, at least everybody thought. Laura had no, in hindsight.
I'm not going to speak for Laura other than what I know is that they were a happy family.
On June 15th, 2023, my life was changed forever. My life was ripped away from me and destroyed. Since that day, I have spent every day grieving the loss of my 3 sweet, so very little sons. I grieve the loss of Clayton, Hunter, and Chase every single day, and I grieve the life that they did not get to live. I no longer get to raise them and watch them grow. I miss each one of them so very much. I miss their laughter, silliness, love, and joy for life. Where there used to be so much laughter, happiness, noise of rowdy little boys, there is now silence and emptiness. I would do anything to push them on the swing, cover them up one more time, and hear their little ways of saying, I love you. All of it gone when I should have had so much more life left to live with them. I asked myself how a mother is supposed to carry on a life as a mom with 1 child left here on earth and 3 gone forever. I struggle every day with the will to get up or give up. Life for me is the true pain and suffering. I will never agree to think that any form of punishment could amount to the form of torture and suffering I have to endure each day, such as seeing children and seeing siblings together as I watch Alexis be without her brothers, and seeing families together as I no longer have mine. Having to live a life where I'm visiting the same places I once was with Clayton, Hunter, and Chase all together. Traveling in the car and no longer seeing them in the rearview mirror. This also includes our family home that holds so many memories that I cannot let go of. But now it's just devastating to face Again, so empty and quiet. I was injured that day, fighting with every ounce of my body to just make it stop. I struggle every day, knowing I was not successful in doing so. And now I have to live with this and wonder what more I could have done to save them. This tragedy has affected me mentally and physically. I replay the events of that day over and over. I get sick at the thought. Every day I have to learn how to cope and live with the trauma I now have. I have anger, frustration, and so much sadness. I had plans and dreams to watch my small boys grow up and become young men, and to always be there for them as their mom, and to be the best grandma I could be. My husband I trusted with everything made a decision that has left my life forever changed. I lost my husband and my children to this horrible crime. The law will never replace my life and give me back what I have lost. I will hold the life I had and lived so close to my heart forever. Grief will never go away, as it is all the love that is left with no place to go. And my love for Clayton, Hunter, and Chase will never go away. And I will never let them be forgotten. I quote, "When I get to where I'm going, I'll only have happy tears. Until then, I will live my days with nothing but sadness."
And again, with these rumors, there's some other rumors suggesting that Laura was tired of the abuse, that either she was cheating on him or he was cheating on her, and they were reaching the end of the relationship. But nothing in her statements seemed to verify these rumors. In fact, they seem like the opposite. She said that they were a normal, happy family. She never would have saw this coming. And these rumors suggesting that he was abusive, if that were true, I can't imagine that when he was messing with the gun safe, that she wouldn't have feared for her children's life, but instead she feared for Chad's life, showing to me that those rumors are not true, that he was not abusive. And that's important in this case because it really shows that there were no warning signs leading up to this event. It was just what was going on in the moments beforehand that alerted Laura that something terrible was going to happen. Now, unfortunately, she thought it was Chad going to hurt himself. She never in a million years would have believed that he would have taken the lives of his own children in the most horrific way possible. Now, Laura, understandably, she doesn't want any public contact. If you're able to find her on social media, please don't message her. Let this woman grieve in peace. Let her and Alexis or any other family, let them grieve in peace. This has already been so traumatic for them as it is. Their lives will never be the same. Every holiday, every birthday, everything in their whole day-to-day life is different. I have 2 little boys of my own, very, very similar to Hunter and Clayton and Chase. My boys are 5 and nearly 3. And I think that's why this case hit me as hard as it did. I mean, you don't have to have little boys for this case to hit you hard, but I know what my life is like on a day-to-day basis. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm a homeschooling mom. So there's so much that I could relate to Laura. And my house is chaotic on a day-to-day basis. It's loud and noisy. The boys are running around and wrestling and playing with each other. And to think about what my life would be like if there was just silence, I can't imagine. Now, Laura, while she doesn't want the public to contact her, she does want everybody to remember her boys for who they were before this tragedy. She wants them to be remembered for being the wild boys who loved being outside, who loved playing with each other, who loved fishing and riding bikes. She wants them to be remembered for the infectious laughs that they have and the joy that they brought to everyone that surrounded them. And Laura also wants to spread the message that in her case, there weren't any signs that Chad was capable of carrying out such an atrocious act. It completely caught her off guard. And I think that that's important. It's important to note because in many of these cases, we see the signs, from a mile away. And in this case, there weren't those signs until that very last day. And her message is to spread this to your friends and your family and your loved ones, that if you are struggling with any thoughts of harming yourself or anybody else, or if you know somebody that is, please reach out and get help before it's too late. Please call the crisis hotline at 800-950-6264 or text helpline to 62640. And if you're in a crisis, you can also call or text 988, or you can go to your local hospital and get the help that you need. Other than that, that's all the information that I have on today's case. Thank you so much for watching. I know that this was a very difficult one to process. My heart, my thoughts, and my prayers go out to Laura and Alexis and the entire community that lost these precious baby boys. It's heartbreaking, to say the least. That doesn't really do it justice, but thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about this case in the comment section down below. Make sure you like this video before you go, and I'll see you guys in the next one.